Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, May 17th, 11:31 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. While you were worried about Kilauea erupting, Mount Sakurajima ejected more gas and ash over the last 24 hours than compared to anything happening on Kilauea. This volcano has been extremely active. And I don't even have the footage of the actual explosion that happened 12 hours ago, but it is 100 times greater than any of the output you're looking at from yesterday. Sakurajima and the volcanoes in Japan are a much greater threat in the near future than Kilauea ever could be. Each of these puffs is equivalent to the giant eruption that had just occurred on Kilauea. So they're leading you astray in the Kilauea regions. Look at the amount of ash being ejected into the atmosphere by this volcano daily. This happens every day for months it's been going on. And a major explosion again occurred just hours ago, which I don't have footage of yet, but we will tomorrow, and I'll share that with you. So come over here and check out this link. This volcano just keeps going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Watch this puff. Bigger than the Kilauea eruption. Right there. And it keeps going and going and going. And let's get on with the update. We'll get back to that video. Whew. Thank you, Volcano YT. Majority of southwest Colorado today was under fire watch. The fire watch is over, but this is going to migrate over. Campers beware, late spring snow expected in the mountains this weekend. We'll check the GFS models. Fort Collins, Denver area could be a foot of snow. If you're planning a camp in the mountains this weekend, get ready for wet and chilly stretch of weather. It's all part of the cool, wet storm system, thanks to Al Gore and global warming, that will move into Utah on Thursday. Clouds, showers, and thunderstorms are expected to develop during the day and Friday in the high country, with rain changing into snow Friday night. Snow levels could drop to 9,000 feet by Saturday. Now, ironically, do we see a pattern developing? Heavy spring snow happened exactly on this date last year. Here are the totals. 41 in Islands Park, 36 in Ward, 32 in Pine Cliff, 30 in northwest of Golden, 30 in Nederland, 26 in Breck, 14 in Aspen Springs, 6 to 8 in Fort Collins. So the same major spring storm crushed the Rockies last spring, and history is repeating itself as we descend into the grand solar minimum. The same exact event is happening again in 2018. Some of you out there may be asking what's going on. Well, we're entering the eddy minimum. So as the sun shuts down, the global weather patterns are going to be repetitive for the next 3 years as we're in this minimum until 2021. We should be a repetition of what we've seen in the last year get worse and worse. And this will be a shift into the new pattern, the grand solar minimum pattern, which we began covering 1 year ago on July 4th. Because all evidence was clear that the temperature has rapidly dropped. It has dropped over almost a degree C in 2 years, which is a huge, huge drop-off, similar to the 1998 drop-off. And we're about to get to an article where they claim that it has been warmer than 1985 every single year. Now, they picked the coolest time in the last 50 years, which was 1985, to begin this average. So we're going to really cover some amazing obfuscation of the truth, and it's just a heads up that the media is insane. Now, we're reporting on the truth, and the truth is that a pattern is repeating itself. Campers beware, late spring snow is expected in the mountains at the end of May. Now let's talk about earlier in the week, Colorado hail swath, not snow, visible from the air days after the storm on Monday. This is a hail pile. And that's tonight's first boom. Unusual blast of snow hits Lake Tahoe in May. This is yesterday. I'll just let it run for you. I hope Al Gore's watching. You said it wouldn't snow. I'm sure you didn't say it would snow almost in summer in Tahoe. Well, there's a chain restriction on this particular mountain. It gets crazier. Chains or snow tires required on the Mount Rose Highway. There it is. Insane in the membrane. Reno, Nevada, Fox 4 and Fox 11 chains and snow tires are required on the Mount Rose Highway from Diamond Peak, that's why we're covering it, to Slide Mountain. It looks like a slide mountain. According to the Nevada Dot, heads up, Cheyenne National Weather Service, baseball-size hail possible. Whew, boom! And that is not fake news. That's real news. There's a slight risk of severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening in the yellow shaded areas, with the majority of risk of severe thunderstorms and baseball-sized hail, winds up to 60. Guys, if you had this today, send me pictures. You'll be famous tomorrow. Pseudo-famous. Let's check the Weather Ready Nation map. We have those gale warnings and red flag warnings for fire weather watches moving south and east of us, as well as thunderstorm warnings and watches in South Dakota, central South Dakota, and eastern Nebraska, including North Platte for heavy thunderstorm activity, western Nebraska and southeast Wyoming. Flood warning still in Montana for that record snow. Al, are you listening? Causing record flooding because of the record snowpack up in Montana. And flood warnings throughout the mid-Atlantic. Heavy flood watches and warnings down here on the West Virginia border. So heads up there. Looking for flash flood warnings in a few of these counties. Coming down to western North Carolina. So I'll leave you links to this. Click on the map and you can find out exactly the warnings in your area. Let's come over to the GFS model here and we'll see that spring snow dump. Central Colorado looking north central, getting hit the most with up to 4 feet of snow falling in areas north of Denver. So Fort Collins, Denver, you could be really hit here. And back out in the Aspen, Breck area, we're going to be watching this. And we're even going to get some Sunday snow down here in the southern mountains. Look at it develop. Maybe penetrating into New Mexico. And it looks like the Sierras will pick up a slight touch in the high elevations. So that's a heads up. We have snow going all the way towards summer, fresh mid-May snow in the Alps. Things have turned rather wintry in the Alps, with up to 30 centimeters of snow reported in the past 24 hours, and more forecast over the next few days. Heads up for heavy, wet avalanches killing multiple people. We're going to be covering it in the next 48 hours, and it's not going to be good. So do not go in the backcountry in the next 2 days. Currently, all ski areas in France and Italy are closed, although Cervina is open on the weekends until the end of May. About half a dozen glacier ski areas are open for their 17-18 seasons in Austria, Switzerland, and all are seeing fresh mid-May snowfall at present. Heads up. There it is. I believe the snow will be falling into summer, but we're going to be watching it closely. Cape Town could get above normal rainfall for June, predicts the U.S. scientists. Good news for that drought-stricken region. And let's check out some of the most awesome footage of the Kilauea eruption, which is mostly steam, just like I predicted, exactly to the day of the prediction. Go check the videos 3 days ago. I said it was going to erupt starting today, and it did. Now, this isn't the major phreatic eruption we were looking for. This is a moderate phreatic eruption. This poor woman living in Volcano Village had no idea that she was near a volcano and that it was about to cover her home in ash. Surely she did. Now, the majority of this region, if you research the article I supplied you last night, was built on lava flows. This whole area has been covered in lava in the last 200 years. So any idiot that moves here deserves to be covered in lava. And why people are golfing next to this eruption is beyond me. But this is a slow, non-deadly eruption, which she's going to point out here. And shield volcanoes do not erupt in the grandeur of the stratovolcanoes like Sakurajima, where it could potentially explode material up to 80 miles away. This volcano is not capable of that. In fact, the only areas that typically get covered are in the park, so people several miles away are typically not at risk. Maybe 1 or 2 people may die if this erupts in a more major way in the coming days. So in the next few days is the window for a more major phreatic eruption. But this is about as bad as it gets on a shield volcano, and it is in fact the worst eruption since 1924, the eruption this morning at 4 a.m. And we're going to be covering that. I'll leave you links to this video and many others. Here's a video from a pilot where you can see the penetration into the upper atmosphere of the plume from this morning. So this is as sun is rising, you're catching the 4 a.m. plume from the initial phreatic blast. And just like I explained, it was going to be a giant Old Faithful times 1,000. It is exactly that. It is 1,000 times wider and higher than Old Faithful, and it is mostly steam and small particulates of pumice and other rock debris. Here's the fissure, still very active. We have square miles of lava covering the Puna region. And fissure 17 is still the most active. We're going to be getting to that update in 2 seconds. Quickly, here's some pictures I'm going to be sharing you. Amazing of that phreatic eruption. This is the secondary eruption after the sun rose. And it pales in comparison to this Sakurajima eruption I was just showing you. That's been ongoing for months. And I just showed you 24 hours of it. So much different type of volcano. The media is not smart enough to tell the difference, but you're all smart enough to notice that there is a major uptick in earthquake activity, including the Iceland region. We're going to get to that shortly. Let's quick go across the map here. 5.8 in Japan. Many tremors hitting off in Japan today. Rattling nerves, but the most significant tremor set is in the La Esperance rock area north of New Zealand. We're up to a 6.2 in the Kermadec, popped off a 5.1 at depth, and these have been bouncing around, and it looks like it might have ended. The only other quake that could possibly pop off is a little migration to the south here in a higher range, but I think this is over, but still should be rattling nerves because the day before we covered this fault here, the Alpine fault, and this pressure could be migrating south, and New Zealand is due for a major quake, and it always has multiple events during grand solar minimas, so you're going to be looking for a magnitude 7.5 or greater and a magnitude 8.5 or greater on the island, South Island, North Island. You're going to be looking for it directly in the New Zealand curve here, where it becomes the Alpine fault. So heads up for a major quake in that region, and be prepared as the infrastructure is completely unavailable after that event. Boom. And we just had a live 4.9 while we were watching it in Esperance at 261 kilometers. That is not good news. That means that this is back at depth at the Blot Echo range. It's going to translate up to the surface in a larger event. So we're looking for a 6.5 or greater in the next 12 to 24 hours. Heads up. That could be you, Alpine fault. So let's cover the 4.2 here in Iceland. And what's going on in Iceland here? I just made a donation to Iceland Geology. They need some money, so go hit them up here. If you use this page, throw them a $20 bill, give them 20 euros. It's $24 in American. Today, an earthquake with a magnitude of 3.7 took place in Bardabunga. A few minutes, a larger earthquake happened at 1600 UTC and had a magnitude of 4.0. An earthquake with a magnitude of 1.9 happened at 1601 UTC. No other quakes of note happened. Here are the quakes right on the caldera of Bardabunga. There have been also some other activity early in the week on the 10th, a large cluster. And then we have this offshore quake that I just showed you on the USGS map. So heads up, the Sakurajima exploding. We don't have that footage yet, but we do have the footage of the eruption from yesterday. I'll just run it through to show you the difference between what we just saw on Kilauea and what's actually coming out here. Massive amounts of ash, smoke, and gases there. Particulates being shot into the atmosphere, causing albedo to increase and global cooling. A lot less of that is happening with Kilauea because it's mostly steam. But the ashes falling has sulfur dioxide, so sulfuric acid is going to be falling from the sky in the form of acid rain, sulfur deposits, plants being killed on the South Island and Puna in those regions. So it's not going to look very pretty. It will re-green because it is Hawaii and it is tropical, which is why everyone loves it. But this footage is much more intense and deadly, and This Sakurajima is actually cooling the planet. Look at the amount of material coming out of here. This is cubic tons of dust. And this is the Ice Age dust that we talk about. We know it, as geologists, we historically know of the major amounts of dust, unexplainable during high cosmic ray flux periods. But in the last few decades, the science is in. As the cosmic rays increase, they heat the subsurface high siliceous magma. It's the muons. This heats the siliceous magma, causing violent eruptions. VEI 5 to 8 expected in the next 2 decades, multiples of them. This is the first time in history we have this type of coverage live around the world. So we're actually going to document the insane nature of these events live. And it's going to be a lot worse than the historical information shows. I guarantee it. It's a no-brainer. Let's look at the update. Kilauea volcano, violent summit explosion, ash to 30,000 feet. A violent explosion, the largest since 1924, occurred this morning at the Halemaumau crater, 4:15 local, sending an ash plume 9 kilometers into the atmosphere, upper atmosphere stratospheric boundary, generating an eruption column of 8 kilometers in height. The ash plume drifted northeast, and there are ashfall warnings throughout the island. It's minor. It's very minor amounts of ash. Don't get your panties in a bunch. But the Earth just had its 400th straight warmer than average month, thanks to fake news. This is total BS. Guys, this is the UAH satellite-based temperature of the global lower atmosphere since 1979. Here's the 85 data they're picking. They claim that this is the average temperature of the planet. Who decided that that's the temperature the planet should be? I'll tell you who. NOAA and NASA, because it's the lowest temperature it has been for 50 years. So that's the average. So everything above that is way above the average, which they picked to be the coldest point in the last 50 years. Who's full of... So this whole nonsense is nonsense. It is not the 400th straight warmer than average month. Based on what average? Who picked the average temperature of Earth? I assure you it's not from the last few hundred years. These people are smoking some nonsense. Let's get to the facts. We're going to end up on facts. Greenland ice sheet today. Mass budget. 5 trillion. It's 5 gigatons gained today. This is a record amount of ice on Greenland in the middle of May. 5 gigatons gained, which is well above the 40-year average. We are above the 40-year average of ice growth in Greenland with a record high daily growth in the middle of May at 5 gigatons. Whew. I wonder if anyone's listening to this. This is data coming from scientists. Let's check the APP Arctic Broadband Albedo Tracker thanks to Global Cryosphere Watch. Guys, did you know that through all of March, April, and May, we have had above average albedo causing the planet to cool based on the definition of the word albedo? Anything else? Yes, that's what it is. Albedo is high. The glacial period has begun. Glaciation is beginning. That's what that means. The planet as a whole is cooling before your very eyes. And the Arctic ice is not melting before your very eyes. It is 5 meters thick from Russia to Greenland. And right near the North Pole, it is 5 meters thick. The entire northern passage is clogged by 3.5 to 4 meter ice. Here's the scale, and that's the color. It's at the top of the scale. Most of northern Greenland and the islands up here are choked with 20 feet of ice in mid-May, and it's not going anywhere. Look at the thickness of ice here north of Hudson Bay. 20 feet. This is live, and if we get a close-up here, we can see that the current sea ice volume is about to pass the 2014 level and move into the multi-decadal central average. As we predicted, nothing we said is not coming true. It's just coming true faster than we predicted. That's the truth. Anything else you're settling for is nonsense. Do not drink the Kool-Aid. Let's check the Antarctic ice sea thickness. Antarctic sea ice thickness is at record highs. In fact, it is as thick currently as it should be in 2 months from now. This thickness does not happen on average until late June, and we have achieved it in early May. Do not believe the hype. It's a... Let's talk about some solutions. My friends over at Friendly Aquaponics, good for you, good for you, good for the planet. Now, they're running a Texas aquaponics training in 2018, the commercial aquaponics training in Dallas, Texas, and they're giving 50% off to any military personnel. And I know a lot of you out there that listen are military. This is half off the most comprehensive aquaponics training class anywhere in the world. And it's June 29th. I'm going to leave you links to this. We might even get a little special bonus for the layman here. We'll get a discount for you if you're not in the military, but it's half off for military. And check out what you learn on this training course. How to build and operate a profitable commercial aquaponics system, how to build and operate energy efficient greenhouses, how to get USDA organically certified, how to run a profitable tilapia or catfish hatchery operation, how to build and operate the best, most energy efficient greenhouses in the world. And let's take a deep breath, guys. You're going to learn about water quality testing, nutrients in aquaponic systems, high and low density aquaponic systems, how to design your own aquaponic systems up to 100,000 square foot in size, how to design your own greenhouse, crop variety research, how to build awareness in you and your products through farm tours and your farm, statutory regulations affecting aquaponics, and on and on and on. Most comprehensive aquaponics training course around. And I know the guy. He's been here in this barn. So big heads up to Friendly Aquaponics and their awesome work spreading the truth on how to survive and thrive in the future. If you don't know anything about this, Tim will teach you personally exactly how to do it. Step by step. No one's going to leave dumb. You're all going to leave knowledgeable on how to grow your own food hydroponically in energy efficient greenhouses, how to design your own greenhouse. And it's not cheap, but it's worth it. And it's a half off if you're in the military. So I'll leave you links to that. You have any questions, shoot them by me. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. Times are changing. UAH data is in. The temperature is dropping for the last 2 years as predicted, as quickly as we expected. It should hit baseline in less than a year. And then it's down from there, past the 1985 nonsense number of the average temperature we should be at. And we're going to go into major glacial period. The major glacial period extends for 16,000 years, which you don't have to worry about because that's hundreds and thousands of generations of people. All you need to do to secure your future is to teach your family how to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, survive and thrive, grow their own food, and be self-sufficient. These are skills that everyone knew decades ago and we've all lost. They can Google them, but you have to physically practice these skills to actually implement them in the times that are coming. When the shit hits the fan, you better be ready, and it's soon. There is not much time. Fear is a liar. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Be safe, everyone.